Uruguay's President Pepe Mujica is leaving office Sunday. The world-renowned leader leaves with a 65% approval rating, making him one of the world's most popular presidents. Tabaré Vázquez is being sworn in Sunday as his replacement, having won elections at the end of 2014. Vázquez comes from the same progressive Broad Front party as Mujica. He will serve as president until 2020. In the past decade, under Broad Front's government, Uruguay has introduced laws including for same-sex marriage, the legalization of marijuana, and the right to an abortion. They have also received former Guantanamo Bay prisoners and aided Latin American unity. Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff, Chilean President Michelle Bachelet, and Cuba's Raúl Castro are some of the world leaders attending the inauguration ceremony in the Uruguayan parliament in Montevideo.
President Maduro announced new measures Saturday night in reaction to ongoing US intervention in Venezuela. Maduro announced during a major rally that the number of US diplomats allowed to work in Venezuela will be reduced. The measure is aimed at protecting Venezuela from United States aggression. It follows revelations that US government officials in the embassy were involved in a recent coup plot. Other measures include the US embassy being required to inform the Venezuelan government of meetings that it has with different sectors of Venezuelan society. Changes to the visa systems for the US citizens travelling to Venezuela will also be implemented.
Salvadorans will elect their parliamentary and local representatives in nationwide elections Sunday. The progressive movement and current governing party of the FMLN is leading in the polls. The results will determine the ease with which current President Salvador Sánchez Serén can continue advancing the FMLN's progressive agenda. Ever since the FMLN won the presidency for the first time 6 years ago, ending 20 consecutive years of right-wing governance, opposition groups have played a belligerent role in the legislature by stalling and sometimes blocking financing of government programs in health, education, and security.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu left Israel on Sunday on his way to Washington, where he will address the American-Israel Public Affairs Committee on Monday, before delivering a speech to Congress on Tuesday. The speech has provoked controversy, with the US officials angry over Netanyahu's decision to address Congress at the invitation of the Republican House leader, without consultation with the US president. Netanyahu is expected to warn US lawmakers against President Obama's long-running policy of negotiation with the Islamic Republic. Those talks have an end-of-March deadline to reach a deal over a framework for Iran's right to nuclear power.
Egypt's long-awaited parliamentary poll looks set to be delayed after the Supreme Constitutional Court ruled on Sunday that an article in electoral legislation was unconstitutional. Voting had been due to start on the 21st of March and run into April. Egypt has been without a parliament since June 2012, when a court dissolved the democratically elected main chamber. That decision reversed one of the major gains of the 2011 movement that ended former dictator Hosni Mubarak's 30-year rule. Current President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who was in charge of the army during the toppling of Egypt's first elected leader, is accused of undermining freedoms gained after the uprising.
Rage and anger is rising here in the Gaza Strip after yesterday's evening. An Egyptian court has officially declared Hamas as a terrorist organization. Hamas officials in the Gaza Strip described this move as shameful and also shocking. They also added that when the European countries are trying to remove Hamas from the black list of terrorist organizations, the Arab and Muslim countries are adding it to these kind of lists. Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, a new Israeli violation occurred last night and this morning when the Israeli Navy fired again at Palestinian fishermen off the coast of Gaza City. No injuries were reported. However, some boats of the Palestinian fishermen were damaged.
Latest polls in Greece show Syriza's popularity soaring 1 month after taking office. The left-wing party has seen its approval ratings leap over 10% since snap elections in January. Since becoming Prime Minister, Alexis Tsipras has announced plans to tackle the humanitarian crisis caused by years of austerity. Despite having to compromise on his original plan to radically renegotiate the European bailout programme after the European powers refused to budge on the tough loan repayment. Yesterday, Tsipras accused Spain and Portugal of leading a conservative conspiracy to topple his anti-austerity government, saying they feared his government would set an example to radical forces in those countries before elections this year.
Their plan was and is to wear down, reverse, or bring our government to unconditional surrender to the bailout orders before our work even begins to bear fruit, and before the Greek example, and mostly this, affects other countries.
Thousands of Russians took to the streets of Moscow Sunday in a march to protest against the murder of an opposition politician. Boris Nemtsov was gunned down near the Kremlin just before midnight on Friday by assailants in a car. President Vladimir Putin vowed to take the investigation into the murder under his personal control and bring the killers to justice, in a crime he regards as a provocation and attempt to destabilize the country.
Festivities continue in post-Carnival Rio as the Brazilian city celebrates its 450th birthday. The anniversary of the beachside football-crazy metropolis, founded by the Portuguese in 1565, is being marked by over 200 events, including a 450-metre cake. Saturday saw a concert live music from musical legend Gilberto Gil. The Tropicalia songster was arrested and imprisoned by Brazil's military government over the political content of his music, but later served as Minister of Culture under left-wing President Lula da Silva.
Facts that have marked the course of history. Productions designed in the English language and made for the English-speaking world. This is Documentary. Watch it on telesur.net/English. Telesur, wherever the news, you'll be there.